Welcome to the highlights of Luton Town's season 1994-95. A crowd of over 8,500 saw the opening game of the season at Kenilworth Road. Aaron Skelton made his full debut with Dwight Marshall coming on as a sub following his summer move from Plymouth. But it was West Brom who took an interval lead, courtesy of this goal from Bob Taylor. But early in the second half, David Preece, Julian James and Paul Telfer combined to set up the opening for Scott Oakes to head the Hatters level. And that's how it finished. Luton Town won, West Bromwich Albion won. The Hatters started their League Cup campaign with a 1-1 home draw against 3rd Division Fulham. Scott Oakes finally breaking the deadlock with 10 minutes to go. But from this last-minute corner, Kevin Moore headed Fulham level. Luton won, Fulham won. A battling point at the previous season's beaten playoff finalists Derby County followed. David Green and Trevor Peake stood out at the centre of defence, while at the other end Dwight Marshall and Marvin Johnson went close. At the other end, Juergen Sommer saved well from Paul Kitson to make sure it finished Derby 0, Luton 0. But for the second successive season, the Hatters went out of the League Cup in the first round, as Rob Howarth headed Fulham in front. The Hatters' problems worsened midway through the second half as Welsh international Kerry was sent off for allegedly hitting out at Fulham midfielder Michael Myson. Ironically though, the free kick went Luton's way, and from David Preece's chip forward, Dwight Marshall scored his first goal for the town to make it Fulham 1, Luton 1. Fulham missed a penalty in extra time, so it went to a shootout. First up was Alan Cork, Juergen Sommer save. Unfortunately for Luton, they missed their first penalty too, as Jim Stannard saved from Paul Telfer. Fulham then went 1-0 in front, but Luton still couldn't hit the target as Scott Oakes saw his effort saved by Stannard once again. Garry Brazil made it 2-0 for Fulham, with David Preece making it 2-1. Duncan Jupp then made it 3-1 to the Londoners. Kerry Dixon had to score to keep Luton in the competition, and he did. Kevin Moore could seal it for Fulham, but his shot struck the post. And Marvin Johnson squared it at 3-3 to send the shootout into sudden death. Glenn Thomas netted for Fulham. Dwight Marshall denied by Stannard. Fulham through on penalties into the second round of the League Cup. John Hartson made his first appearance of the season after a 4-match suspension and put the Hatters 1-0 in front at half-time against Southend, prompting Ladbrokes to send out for more money to cover bets placed on the young Welshman. But early in the second half, Southend were level as Keith Dublin forced the ball home from this corner. After Hartson's opener, it was another Welshman who put the Hatters back in front. Kerry slotting the ball home to put Luton 2-1 in the lead. But once again, Southend hit back, and in spectacular fashion, with this stunning volley from Ricky Otto. Luton 2, Southend 2. Tranmere's home form would once again see them to a playoff place, and they open the scoring against Luton through John Aldridge. But the Hatters fought back to equalise. Kerry following up his goal against Southend with the equaliser here. But then Tranmere bagged 3 goals in 10 minutes to race into a 4-1 lead. Aldridge again made it 2-1. And then 3 from the penalty spot. Chris Malkin broke through to make it 4-1 to Tranmere, with Luton pulling a goal back from John Hartson. But it finished Tranmere 4, Luton 2. Luton secured their first win of the season courtesy of Dwight Marshall's second-half goal at a rain-soaked Vale Park. Port Vale 0, Luton 1. But at home to Burnley, Luton were unable to break down a stubborn Lancashire defence, with the visitors snatching the points with a Liam Robinson goal midway through the first half. The game marked the Luton debut of Garry Waddock, then on loan from Bristol Rovers, and it was Scott Oakes who missed Luton's best chance heading over the bar. Juergen Sommer's save late on meant it stayed Luton 0, Burnley 1. The Hatters dominated the goalless first half, but failed to get on the scoresheet against Bolton, and Wanderers hit back to dominate the second 45 minutes, opening the scoring through John McGinley. Then it was the Dutchman Richard Snakers who put Bruce Rioch's side 2-0 in front. Snakers then turned creator, making room for McGinley's second and Bolton's third. Luton 0, Bolton 3. The home disappointments were temporarily forgotten with a memorable derby win at Watford, despite the Hornets going in front through a goal from Jamie Morley. Luton hit back to lead 3-1, Scott Oakes blasting them level. Dwight Marshall's persistence paid off to set up the opening for David Preece. His cross, headed down by Mitchell Thomas, was cleared straight to Kerry Dixon to put Luton in front. Paul Telfer then produced an excellent solo goal to make it 3-1. But before the break, Watford pulled one back. Tommy Mooney stealing in to make it 3-2. But after the break, Telfer put Luton 4-2 in front, a goal created by the excellent Marshall, and that's how it stayed. A goalless draw at the New Den followed as rivals for the USA #1 shirt Juergen Sommer and Millwall's Casey Keller both kept clean sheets. Like Burnley, Bristol City defended in numbers, But the Hatters had a couple of first-half chances, both falling to Kerry Dixon. From Preece's cross, Dixon gets in the header. Bristol, though, grabbed the winner midway through the second half as Ian Baird pounced to make it Luton 0, Bristol City 1. The town's excellent away run continued in the televised match at the Victoria Ground as Dwight Marshall got the better of former town skipper John Dreyer to put Luton 1-0 in front. Former Plymouth striker raced through to slot the ball calmly past Carl Muggleton. It was a forgettable afternoon for Dreyer, who was then penalised for handball under pressure from John Hartson to give Luton a chance to go 2-0 in front. But Muggleton saved from David Pleat to keep Stoke in the game. After Dreyer had been sent off for a professional foul on Marshall, Stoke's 10 men hit back to equalise. But with 9 minutes to go, David Preece made amends for the penalty miss with the winner. Paul Telfer crossed it, Dwight Marshall left it, David Preece scored it. Stoke City 1, Luton Town 2. In hindsight, this was the result of the season against the eventual champions. The Hatters sent on their way, courtesy of an own goal from former Watford striker Paul Wilkinson. From Hughes's free kick, Wilkinson first to the ball, and Pears had no chance. Dwight Marshall raced through to make it 2-0. Before half-time, it was 3-0. Ball eventually finding its way to David Preece, who, with the aid of a slight deflection, put the town 3-0 in front at half-time.
Telfer's away, Marshall is in the middle, Telfer is Preece, David Preece, surely now.
Dwight Marshall eventually made it 4-0. The result of an excellent break down the right from Paul Telfer. Telfer's outrageous dummy set up David Preece, who then set up Marshall, who bagged his goal at the second attempt. On the hour it was 5. Hartson's wonderful display rewarded with this crushing goal. Middlesbrough managed a late consolation from Derek White, but it finished Luton 5, Middlesbrough 1. This win at Bramall Lane moved the Hatters up to 7th in the table as they recovered from a 1-0 deficit. Nathan Blake heading the Blades 1-0 in front. But from Paul Telfer's cross, Mitchell Thomas's header was turned into his own net by Brian Gale to put Luton level. After the break, it was Marshall again creating the opening. Juergen James arrived at the back post to put David Pleat's side in front. Victory was completed by Kerry Dixon's header from this Scott Oakes cross. Sheffield United 1, Luton Town 3. Luton couldn't repeat the form that had accounted for Middlesborough against a well-organised Barnsley side, marshalled by player-manager and former Town skipper Danny Wilson. England under-21 keeper David Watson kept the Hatters at bay, with the Tykes winner coming in the second half from Andy Rammell. Luton 0, Barnsley 1. In the midweek match with Grimsby, Dave Gilbert's superb injury time free kick was to eventually give the Mariners victory, but it was Gilbert who put the visitors in front just after half-time. Substitute Scott Oakes appeared to have salvaged a point with a late equaliser, Oakes having earlier replaced Kerry Hughes, who limped out of the action with a knee ligament injury, which was to keep him sidelined for the remainder of the season. But in injury time, Gilbert curled in a spectacular goal to make the final score Luton 1, Grimsby 2. But Molyneux, another candidate for performance of the season, amid mounting speculation that David Pleat was returning to Spurs. The Hatters outplayed Wolves for 80 minutes to lead 3-0, going in front from David Preece's free kick. After half-time, Dwight Marshall headed in number 2. And Kerry Dixon, returning in the number 9 shirt, made it 3. Mitchell Thomas's cross found the former England man. And it seemed plain sailing for the Hatters. The 2 late goals caused a few anxious moments for David Pleat. Paul Stewart pulling one back for Wolves. And then Marvin Johnson turned the ball into his own net. But it was too little too late from Graham Taylor's men, and it finished Wolves 2, Luton 3. With David Pleat confirming he was to stay at Luton, the Hatters produced another gritty away display against an Oldham side who had just lost manager Joe Royle to Everton. Again, chances were few and far between, with the Latex having Gunnar dismissed late on for kicking Juergen James, although video evidence later showed the guilty party to be Richard Graham. Oldham 0, Luton 0. Kerry Dixon's goal after just 2 minutes set Luton on the way to a comfortable win over Portsmouth at Kenilworth Road. A perfect start for the Hatters as Dixon headed in from David Preece's cross. Preece himself netted the second after the break, slotting in the rebound after a Juergen James shot had hit the post. Luton 2, Portsmouth 0. The following win at Swindon lifted Luton to a season's best 5th place in Division 1. A mix-up in the defence allowed Keith Scott to put Swindon in front. Scott, who was to find the net against the Hatters on the final day of the season for Stoke City. But gradually Luton got a grip of the game. Scott Oakes going close to an equaliser. And David Preece closer still, somehow denied by Fraser Digby. But eventually they did level. Telfer pouncing to cross, Dixon heading home. After the break, Oakes made amends for his earlier miss to seal the points for the Hatters. Swindon 1, Luton 2. But not before Juergen Sommer had produced a wonderful save to make sure the 3 points were Luton's. Sheffield United came to Kenilworth Road keen to avenge their defeat at Bramall Lane and open the scoring through Kevin Gage. Gage then made it 2-0 and the Hatters' hopes were further rocked by Garry Waddock's dismissal for a professional foul and injuries to David Preece and Des Linton. Soon after the break, it was 3-0. Australian Carl Viet putting the Blades 3 goals clear. But then the fight back started. John Hartson pulling a goal back for David Pleat's side. But Sheffield restored their 3-goal advantage, courtesy of Glyn Hodges. Brian Gale, as he had done at Bramall Lane, scored an own goal, 4-2. And then when Gage fouled Mitchell Thomas, Marvin Johnson stepped up to make it 4-3. And minutes later, Kerry Dixon cleaned through, saw his shot saved by Alan Kelly. 2 more goals flattered Sheffield. The first came from Scott. And the 6-3 scoreline was completed by the Australian Viet. A goalless home draw with Derby County followed before the Hatters headed to the Hawthorns and suffered their first away defeat since August, courtesy of Kevin Donovan's first half goal for West Brom. After a Boxing Day draw at Reading, again 0-0, the Hatters entertained Sunderland. And Scott Oakes put them 1-0 in front on the rain-soaked pitch. Oakes' second came just 4 minutes later. And with Kerry Dixon nursing a hamstring injury, John Hartson was back in the side. And he headed Luton 3-0 in front just after the break. Luton rounded off 1994 with their 7th away win of the season, although it was to be their last, with Paul Telfer's goal accounting for Notts County. And the Christmas and New Year programme was completed at home to Charlton Athletic on a frozen pitch only past fit 45 minutes before kick-off. David White's goal proved decisive. After the previous season's semi-final appearance, the FA Cup was eagerly anticipated, and the Hatters had an ideal start against Bristol Rovers, with this penalty awarded for a foul on Garry Waddock. But Brian Parkin saved Marvin Johnson's spot kick, and Mitchell Thomas put the rebound wide. Rovers in fact took the lead with a goal from Marcus Stewart. But John Hartson equalised for the Hatters on what was to be his final appearance for Luton before a £2.5 million transfer to Arsenal. Luton 1, Bristol Rovers 1. With Hartson departed to Arsenal, Kerry Dixon returned after injury and opened the scoring with a spectacular goal just after half-time at Barnsley. But the Tykes raised their game and went on to complete a league double over the Hatters, equalising through Neil Redfern. Then Andy Liddell bagged 2 goals to make it 3-1 for Danny Wilson's side. Back to the Cup, and Luton scored an impressive win at Twerton Park against a Rovers side unbeaten at home in the league. Youth team defender Ben Chenery made his debut, and Dwight Marshall netted the winner midway through the second half. The 4th round clash with Southampton followed, with the Saints taking the lead through Neil Shipperley. But Wayne Biggins, on loan from Stoke, making his debut, equalised for the Hatters in a thrilling game after Bruce Grobbelaar had earlier saved the Paul Telfer penalty. Luton 1, Southampton 1. At home to Oldham, Dwight Marshall scored a goal in each half to see off the Latics. Rick Holden's equaliser looked to have set to deny Luton the points. But Wayne Biggins set up Marshall for the winner with 9 minutes to go. Luton 2, Oldham 1. England star Matthew Le Tissier climbed off his sickbed to produce a superb display to send Luton out of the Cup. Le Tissier opened the scoring. Jim Magilton made it 2-0. Le Tissier netted his second from the spot after handball from Mitchell Thomas. And Le Tissier then carved out an opening for Neil Heaney to make it 4, and all this before half-time. Ken Munkow made it 5, and substitute David Hughes made it 6. Still stunned by the defeat at the Dell, Luton conceded another 5 goals at Blundell Park, although Juergen Sommer was the town's man of the match, keeping his side in the game until the final minutes. And ironically, Paul Crichton, the Grimsby keeper, was voted their player of the game for a string of fine saves which prevented any town fight-back. After Jim Dobbins' opener, David Gilbert, twice on target at Kenilworth Road earlier in the season, made it 2-0 before half-time. And after Crichton had continually denied the Hatters, Grimsby bagged 3 more goals in the last 15 minutes to end up 5-0 winners. Neil Wood's knee made it 3. And numbers 4 and 5 both came from Tommy Watson. Grimsby 5, Luton 0. With manager David Pleat away on scouting duty, the Hatters claim their first league double of the season. Kevin Horlock's own goal gave them a 1-0 interval lead. And after Scott Oak's penalty had hit the post, Marshall made sure of the points with a brace. Luton 3, Swindon 0. The Hatters staying in 10th place, but the playoffs were still within reach. The first of 2 frustrating away performances as the Hatters twice went in front, only to be denied by a controversial penalty. They dominated the first half, leading through Paul Telfer's early tap-in. Pompey, though, hit back after the break. Jerry Creaney's shot was cleared, but from the resulting corner, Alan McLaughlin headed Pompey level. Julian James then cracked in a splendid volley to restore the lead. But Preece scored the home side's second. And was adjudged to have been fouled for the third. With Creaney converting from the penalty spot. Portsmouth 3, Luton 2. At Ashton Gate, again the Hatters were in front and seemingly on their way to all 3 points, given a wonderful start with Scott Oak's goal. Their lead was maintained just before half-time as Juergen Sommer provided the heroics after Mitchell Thomas had conceded this penalty. After half-time, David Preece set up Oaks to make it 2-0, but struggling City recovered, first with a goal from Garry Hours, and then from Junior Bent. Bristol City 2, Luton Town 2. Against Millwall, Rob Matthews, an £80,000 signing from Notts County, made his Luton debut, but it was Dwight Marshall who put the Hatters in front. Millwall keeper Casey Keller kept his side in the game, saving 3 times from Marshall and on this occasion from Paul Telfer. But the Lions drew level as Dave Mitchell converted this second half chance. Luton 1, Millwall 1. The half-time introduction of Rob Matthews helped Luton's cause against Port Vale. He was a constant threat to the visitors' defence, and it was Paul Telfer who put Luton in front just after half-time. Kerry Dixon netted Luton's second after Matthews' shot had been parried. Juergen Sommer made several fine saves to keep the visitors at bay, although they did manage a late consolation. Luton 2, Port Vale 1. Almost one-third of the 4,500 crowd had made the journey from Luton to Roots Hall, but it was a disappointing afternoon for the Hatters, and a result which effectively ended their playoff ambitions. Keith Jones had netted the first, Andy Thompson the second, and Keith Dublin was to make it 3. Southend 3, Luton 0. Back to Kenilworth Road, and league leaders Tranmere were soundly beaten and didn't manage a shot on target until the final minute. Julian James gave Luton a first half lead, and Dwight Marshall could have made it 2 on a number of occasions. The combination of Eric Nixon and the woodwork kept Marshall at bay. Wayne Biggins went close with that header, but in his final game on loan, it was Biggins who was to seal the points for Luton with number 2. Luton 2, Tranmere 0. At Burnley, Rob Matthews replaced the injured Scott Oakes, with Kerry Dixon returning for the departed Wayne Biggins. Luton dominated the first 70 minutes, with Dwight Marshall's goal midway through the second half giving them the lead. But Burnley, including former Town players Kurt Nogan and Steve Thompson, rallied to snatch all 3 points. Their equaliser came from Mullin, and then skipper Steve Davis set up Jerry Harrison for the winner. Burnley 2, Luton 1. Paul Telfer bagged an early opener in the derby against Watford, as the Hatters gave a debut to John Taylor, arriving from Bradford to replace Kerry Dixon, who had left for Millwall. Juergen Sommer was on international duty, so Kelvin Davis was in goal, and after conceding this equaliser to Kevin Phillips, saved a penalty from Gary Porter to make it Luton 1, Watford 1. Telfer was again quickly on the score sheet, putting Luton 2-0 up after just 11 minutes against Wolves. But substitute David Kelly pulled one back after the break. Only for John Taylor to make it 3-1 on 51 minutes with his first goal for the Hatters. In a thrilling game, Kelly bagged his second. With Neil Emblin equalising 5 minutes into injury time. Telfer again netted an early goal against Notts County. With Scott Oakes ending Luton's penalty jinx at the Kenilworth end midway through the second half to seal the points after a foul on Dwight Marshall. Luton 2, Notts County 0. With the original trip to Bolton postponed due to Wanderers' Coca-Cola Cup final appearance, the Hatters travelled for a midweek match and came away with a deserved point. Bolton's Keith Brannigan was the busier keeper, but Luton needed a last-minute goal line clearance from Trevor Peake to preserve their clean sheet. Bolton 0, Luton 0. At Roker Park, John Taylor gave Luton a 9th-minute lead against Sunderland. But ex-Hatter Phil Gray equalised midway through the second half. And it finished Sunderland 1, Luton 1. On Easter Monday, Reading ended Luton's 10-match unbeaten run at home. The winning goal coming just before half-time as John Taylor headed a free kick past Kelvin Davis. Luton 0, Reading 1. A reshuffled back four at Charlton with David Green recalled in the centre of defence. Luton had the majority of the play. And Charlton were reduced to 10 men after just 30 minutes after Steve Brown's dismissal for a second bookable offence. But, as he had done at Kenilworth Road, David White was to net the winner for the Valiants. Charlton 1, Luton 0. Middlesbrough's final league game at Ayresome Park and a capacity crowd were finally rewarded with all 3 points. Brian Robson's men looked to have been sent on their way with this first half penalty. But Kelvin Davis had other ideas, saving from Neil Cox. But Davis, though, was finally beaten seconds before the break by John Hendry's deflected shot. John Taylor then headed Luton level as the Hatters mounted a second-half fight back. Paul Telfer's quick free kick, and Taylor netting his third goal since arriving from Bradford City. But Borough were not to be denied, and Hendry netted his second to make it 2-1. And only fine saves from Davis prevented further Borough goals. Middlesbrough 2, Luton 1. A 5-goal finale to the season as Luton gave a full debut to Jamie Woodsford up front and went ahead courtesy of this tremendous strike from Richard Harvey. But after the break, Stoke hit back to go 2-1 in front. The equaliser from Toddy Orlickson. The second from Canadian international Paul Pesky-Solido. Garry Waddock's first ever goal for the town appeared to have secured a point with 7 minutes to go. But Keith Scott headed the winner 3 minutes from time. Luton 2, Stoke 3. After a season's best 5th place and that wonderful away run, the Hatters finished 16th with just 1 win in the last 10 games. The defeat by Stoke was David Pleat's final match in charge with the summer move to Sheffield Wednesday, and Luton look forward to the new season under new manager Terry Westley.
Jerk it out.